It's a huge responsibility, the market. You're putting Weatherfield people's Yuletide joy at stake.
Right, all right, well, maybe I can rearrange the appointment then.
Well, 2 birds with 1 stone, Maria. As you said yourself, if we stick stalls on Victoria Street, no cars will be allowed. You'll be able to kickstart your clean air campaign.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point.
Good. 2 p.m. sharp at mine with a smorgasbord of ideas.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 182 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that could barely contain a smirk when perpetual hero Abby thought she could fix Sam by shouting at him. I'm Gavin.
And I hope Matt Groening is getting residuals from this new COVID variant.
Was it the Bart variant, is it?
No, it's the Omicron variant. And the alien Lur is the ruler of Omicron Persei 8 from Futurama. I'm such a nerd.
Just before we started recording, we were talking about mass appeal.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. How are you this morning, my darling?
Well,
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
to you.
Thanksgiving, yes.
Happy Thanksgiving
Happy
to everyone who celebrated a Thursday or ate turkey this week.
yes. Or enjoyed our picture of our bacon-wrapped turkey on Twitter.
You'd managed to make that turkey look like a pig. It kind of looked like a pig wrapped in bacon, which is questionable.
Somebody said, so essentially it's a drunk pig in a blanket. And I said, yes, where
much.
the pig is the blanket. Oh no, I'm a bit tired this morning. I was doom scrolling last night, reading all the Broadway people and their tributes to Stephen Sondheim, who died yesterday, which is very sad, even though he was 91. And in the process, I got into a conversation with somebody on the Twitter about the Empire list of the best 100 movies and how there are 9 comic book movies on there and how he didn't count Scott Pilgrim because Scott Pilgrim isn't a superhero, but Scott Pilgrim is a superhero.
Is he?
Yes, he has magic powers. Not every Marvel character even has magic powers. And how Luke Skywalker is more of a superhero than Star-Lord, as is Paul Atreides.
Yeah, I wouldn't count Scott Pilgrim as a superhero.
You didn't read the books, did you?
I did. I read the first 4 anyway. I had them all. I don't know what happened to them. Was that us? We done?
So anyway, that kept me up until like 1 o'clock in the morning. I totally forgot to schedule a post office pickup. And because yesterday was Black Friday, I have like 12 orders to pack today. So I feel like an idiot.
Oof. 12 things to package up.
12 things to package up.
Right.
A Scooby-Doo playset. And a creepy doll. There'll be one less creepy doll.
It's at the point now where we lose 1 or 2 and it makes no difference. It's like that infinite hotel with the infinite hotel rooms.
Uh-huh.
And one of them gets occupied. There's still infinite vacancies.
That's true. Sadly, it wasn't one of the clown dolls.
I had a nice Thanksgiving.
Did you?
Yeah, I thought the meal came out exceptionally well.
Yeah, we did a good job.
With maybe too much Jim Beam in the stuffing.
Yes.
I was starting to feel a little bit drunk by the end of it.
Yeah, so was I. Told the kids not to eat it. I think they snuck some anyway. And then I didn't get any of the pumpkin pie I bought.
You didn't?
No.
Well, what happened to it?
It got ate.
Well, obviously.
Typically, when I make pumpkin pies and apple
2.
pies, I make 2. Mm-hmm. But because of everything.
The end of the world, yep.
Right. I bought rolls and I bought pies. Mm-hmm. And I only bought 1 of each. How was the rest of your week?
apart from Thanksgiving, it was nice not to be at work.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
you
was
have
nice
to go back next
actually
week.
Yeah, I'm actually in the office for the first time in 20 months for 2 days a week.
Yeah, and Nick is
Feeling
moving.
a little bit anxious about that. I was thinking I was okay about it, but it's going to be a little bit weird.
Yeah, it's going to be really weird here as well because Nick is moving out this week. So
Yay.
for the first time in almost 2 years, I will be by myself again during the day, just me and the dog and the cats.
Right.
And there's a part of me that's looking forward to it, but there's also a part of me that's kind of freaking out because it's been so long since I've been completely alone.
Yeah, 20 months.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I was kind of thinking that we'd probably get to the end of the year before they started this nonsense
Yeah, I'm
And we'll all
really
go
kind of
back.
surprised.
after the new year, but no, they're determined to get people in. I'm not sure it's going to make very much difference. People were in 2 weeks ago, but with our health fund, I got a stay of execution for a fortnight, so
Which was nice.
yeah. Oh well.
I could just breathe on you again.
Yeah, I was saying that to my co-worker that she hates going back and she's very germophobic. I said, just drive past our house. So we'll get Stella to stand in the yard. She's had COVID. You can say that you've had COVID exposure. And that's it. 2 weeks. She didn't take us up on it.
No,
That's fine.
that's fine.
I just won't be making that offer again. That's all.
No.
Ah well. Shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please. I think we've gone through all of our COVID material for the week.
Again for the 80th week on the trot. Now we were before episode 100 was the start of COVID. I think it was like 93 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And we're 182 now. So
Oof.
we've been doing it in a COVID environment for half the length of time that we've been doing it,
Wow.
I think.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so, preamble, my dear. Give us some of that longevity, Corrie News. No,
No.
this one, I think.
Moment of the week.
No, must be this one then. In the bistro. No. In the bistro. In the bistro. In the bistro. In the bistro. Where the fuck is Corrie News? Where'd the Corrie News go?
Maybe it's the one on the top.
It's the first one.
Maybe you shouldn't be going in on Monday.
Yeah.
Corrie smashed it at the Inside Soap Awards this week, taking home 7 awards, including Best Soap and Acting awards for Sally Carmen and David Nielsen. Further proof that this whole storyline is just stupid.
Yeah, none of these assessments have been made in the last 3 or 4 weeks, right? But congratulations
Well,
to them.
congratulations to them.
Once again, a little bit of a clean sweep in terms of the awards that Coronation Street's picking up
Yeah. Hopefully
for last year.
Hopefully this will stop all the naysayers who say that Coronation Street is so much worse than it was 50 years ago.
No, of course it won't. The people during these storylines have been saying the same thing.
Right.
People are very hard to please.
Don't get me wrong. There are things I hate about this current storyline, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, which one?
Don't get me started.
Well, I'm going to have to.
After he won Best Newcomer at the Inside Soap Awards, Jude Reardon went on to win the Pride of St. Helens Award to close
he won
out
that
the
one as
week.
well?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
Yes, he did. He posted it on his Twitter 16 hours ago. It says, late breaking news.
Wow.
Jude's going to need a bigger awards case as he's also nominated for Best Soap Performance at the I Talk Telly Awards, going up against fellow Cobble star Molly Gallagher. Voting for I Talk Telly ended on the 24th, so good luck to both.
I'm starting to think he's just picking up everything. Everything that he's been nominated for, he seems to be winning. So
I think, wasn't he nominated for something for Brassic as well?
oh, he might have been, yeah.
I
In
don't
fact,
know.
he was. Yeah, we talked about that last week.
I don't know if he won. I know, what's his name? did, because I was talking to Scriptocene about it, aka the Twitter handle formerly known as the Ben Price fan page.
Talking about what?
Other people who won for Brothic. I'm having a brain fart at the moment. So that's Corrie News. My brain farts are your news.
Yeah.
Should be my tagline.
I mean, it is all encompassing.
This is true.
On our mailbag, I'm sure the kind of WD-40 is for a squeaky bed. Just a bit of euphemism writing saying it was a wardrobe door. Oh, well.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the whole reason was to give him a drawer to put his undercrackers in.
Put his pants in, yep.
Yeah, so maybe it's both.
And
Quite
then,
possible it's both.
I kind of hope it's not a squeaky bed. There's kids in that house.
And Evelyn.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Canadian Helen wrote in to say the storyline with Max's ADHD is so unrealistic. As usual, the writers don't do enough research. As a mother of a son with ADHD, I speak from experience. Wouldn't Max cope better with his ADHD as he got older, unless he has some other condition like conduct disorder? Max was diagnosed back in 2013 or 2014 with ADHD, so this is something that he's been living with
For a while
for
now.
a while.
Well, Max and David both mentioned his ADHD to Daniel. Or remember, Max uses his
Oh,
ADHD
that's right.
as an excuse, saying, "Oh, his teachers have," which is an excuse we have heard from our own child with ADHD. So, and not all ADHD goes away. There are adults walking around with ADHD. So, but like you and I talked about after Canadian Helen sent this, it is problematic because it makes it seem like all kids with ADHD turn into psychosociopaths and are dangerous.
Or excellent filmmakers.
Right.
And now Will Cod passed?
We'll cod pass.
Fucking hell.
We'll catch fish for coffee.
Right. This is my-
Our podcast about fish.
And now we'll podcast for coffee. Thanks to Canadian Helen again. God, this episode is sponsored by Canadian Helen and non-Canadian Helen for buying our coffees this week. And in one fell swoop, my wee target for $50 to the UN World Food Programme has been met.
Woohoo!
And surpassed a little bit.
Woohoo!
Canadian Helen says, please accept my donation for the United Nations Feed the Children Fund. I hope that more people donate to a very good cause. If you want to be one of those people to donate to a very good cause, you can buy us a coffee for the
You have
remaining
3
days
days.
of November. Yeah,
3 days.
When's that? So Monday, Tuesday next week, I think. Anyway, yeah, if you get
Wednesday. Oh, no, wait. Today's Saturday. So, yes, Tuesday. Why did I think it was Sunday? Why did I think this was a List of Lists podcast?
it's always good to be interrupted to be told that I'm wrong, and then
I love you.
yeah. Mhm. So yeah, so you have let's say midweek
Right.
if you want to donate and buy us coffee. We're sending our money for November to the UN World Food Programme. $50 will feed a kid for 3 months, and that's what we wanted to do, and that's what we've done. So anything else is a little bit of a bonus. So really pleased with that.
Huzzah!
Thanks for those donations. Once we get into December, I think we'll just be buying our own coffees for that month. And now this.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about American nonsense.
Did the show do an episode about me?
Looks like it. That's right, this was Kev's dismissal view of the concept of date night.
Oh, yes.
Dear reader, he married her. I was Gavin, and you were thankful for all our lovely listeners.
Yes.
We'd
Fill
just
in.
got a turkey breast last year, which I had completely forgotten about. We didn't get the big bird.
That's correct.
We just got the little breast. Back to the £12 bird for 5 people this year.
Yes.
The usual parade and dog show nonsense was heavily curtailed thanks to the pandemic thing that seemed to be sweeping the nation. We saw our friend Steve and his family having their Thanksgiving sitting in their garage, remember?
Yes.
That
Was fun.
In the show, Jenny puts the rapid deterioration of her marriage on the back burner while she becomes reacquainted with her ex-stepdaughter and her boating boyfriend. So that's a year that we've been
With Daisy.
enjoying Daisy.
Well, one of us has been enjoying Daisy.
Yeah. Leanne has been to the library for lots of big books as she contemplates teaching herself law in the 48 hours ahead of Oliver's appeal until Nick, Steve, Toya and Circumstance force her to accept an impossible outcome.
Kind of like Emma teaching herself medicine.
Yeah. I'm all for self-improvement. Mm-hmm. Johnny finds it impossible to get rid of Grant the security guard's mum, whose presence only serves to confuse events of that robbery thing 4 decades ago. Alia has a plastic bag theory and then discovers that Tim's dad's magic room wallpaper is far worse than she could have ever possibly imagined. Mm-hmm. Summer really has forgiven Todd, who manages to schmooze his way into games night, much to Billy and Paul's chagrin. So that must be about a year of Todd as well.
A year of new Todd.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ryan talked to a donkey. Shona is not dressed for the school run, and we all become more familiar with Oldham postcodes. Our moment of the week was Nick and Leanne's private grief to Oliver's death, and our boring moment of the week was Summer, Billy, Paul and Todd's game night. And that was Coronation Street and the Talk of the Street this time last year. Shall we dive in? My dear.
Yes, please.
Yeah. It was weird because this was a kind of holiday week, which feels different.
Right.
It has a kind of Christmassy feel, so
Yeah.
you forget that other parts of the world aren't having Thanksgiving and aren't
Correct.
on vacation and stuff.
I'm surprised that there wasn't an offhand remark slagging off Thanksgiving and turkeys and things this week.
Yeah.
There was only one dig at Americans this week.
But it did make me expect subconsciously something kind of holiday spectacular from the show this week. Anyway, so our first storyline this week is Max's filthy video fun. On the Monday, Max is up bright and breezy and hurries out the door before David can have a word with him. At the bus stop, Summer, Ash and Addie all have a go at him and his hilariously bad film. Max has had enough and he storms away.
Oh, and then Kirk laughs and laughs at David, who says that he wasn't nearly this bad when he was a child. That was great.
Yeah, we went for that gag a couple of times this week, I think. In Roy's Rolls, Daniel overhears David and Shona arguing about Max and tells him that he didn't show up for school today. Summer explains about the hilarious video and sends Daniel a copy before he can refuse it, because he shouldn't be
Seeing that
partaking
stuff.
in any of this nonsense. In the Rovers, Daniel tells Daisy about Max's video. Max has talent, according to Daniel. What?
Well,
It was awful.
it was awful, but it is kind of impressive that, you know, a kid who has zero interest in school can splice recordings together and put. He could get a job at TMZ.
Daniel thinks it gave Max focus. Daisy isn't buying it. Delete it or I'll delete you, she says. At number 8,
Right before Jenny sees it.
David confronts Max with a list of people upset at the horror film. David wants Max to apologise to them all. Max points out that there's no point. He's been cancelled and the video has been taken down. And in a rage,
Cancelled.
David grabs the laptop and it falls to the ground. I hate you, shouts Max, and he clumps up the stairs in a temper.
Max claims to be cancelled. That's ridiculous.
I think being
a
cancelled now
kid.
means people are slightly annoyed with you.
But then you can go on to continue to have a career. Looking at you, Dave Chappelle and Louis C.K. and there's another one. I can't remember. Anyway, continue.
Is it the same one that won the award?
Didn't
No?
maybe who just won
And
an award?
Brassic?
No, God, no. He's a good person.
This other unnamed person.
Yeah, Joe Gilgun. See, I knew I would remember it eventually.
Daniel goes round to tell David how good a filmmaker Max is. No, really, he has talent. I swear, I'm not winding you up. Yes, I know you've seen it and it looks hilarious, but genuinely, I think it's at least as good as Bethany's attempts at investigative journalism. Because remember, that was a thing.
Right, yeah. And, you know, it is good to encourage kids to be creative.
I'm just not sure who made Daniel arbiter of
Daniel
taste
did.
here. Oh, yes, that's right. Of
Right?
course.
He inherited it from his father.
It's the fact
Who is
that people
also
give this any credence whatsoever.
This arbiter of, you know, what is culture and what is not when it comes to the street.
Daniel says it's good, so therefore it must be good. Rather than
Well-
Daniel said this is good, so fucking what?
Well, I think David is just grasping at straws and is happy to hear that maybe his son is good at something.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there.
Yeah. So Daniel finds Max in the community garden at night. Daniel insists that Max has a talent and with the right subject matter he could make something brilliant. But Max reckons everyone hates his guts and Summer won't tutor him anymore, so what's the point? But then Daniel has an idea. So Daniel encourages Max to apologise to Summer and promises he'll work on something more positive in the future. Summer suggests Billy's work at the soup kitchen. That'll make a good video.
I was really concerned that this was going to turn into Max unmasking Kelly and making another horrible video, which is exploitation of Kelly being homeless and taking spice because apparently Coronation Street is filmed on Dune.
Well, it was about as exciting as June was. Yeah.
But anyway,
Well,
that's a different storyline.
Max had been, as far as we could make out, he was recording several people over several days and had some extra footage, at least some of it, related to the sinkhole and who knows what else he'd been recording.
Correct.
It feels a little bit of a waste that the only thing that he did was a stupid conspiracy theory video that was hilarious and is
then
now going to
immediately
move
taken
on
down.
to Billy's work in the soup kitchen.
I don't know. I think that the video that he took of David and Debbie talking about
That's got to come back.
that's
hasn't
got to
it?
come back to bite them in the ass eventually.
So Max pretends that Summer's had a good idea and Summer agrees to be Max's tutor again. Daniel
Right,
gets home.
because she's still in love with Daniel.
Daniel gets home. Daisy seems to live there now, but Paul doesn't seem to live there now. And I'm just thinking that Paul doesn't live there anymore, does he? When
He
they
does.
mention him, that it seems that Paul is going to be out all night. In fact, so Daisy and Daniel get their hole on the couch with each other.
It seems like Paul's been gone for a while. I hope Peter Ash is okay.
We never see him in that flat. Remember,
We
it
haven't
was
seen
kind
him
of
on the street.
no, but it was kind of set up that Paul and Daniel, the original odd couple living
Right.
together, was going to potentially have some interest. I thought that was the thing that was going to make Daniel interesting to me, but
And instead, Daisy
that-
has done that.
That didn't happen. No.
Yes.
This week? No, because this week, well, we'll get to that bit. Back at number 8, Max comes home and explains about his night of apologies. He and David talk about filmmaking and David gives him his backing for the soup kitchen video and they have a lovely wee calm conversation. And that seems to be that storyline over. It can't be. Surely
No.
it can't be, but it
And then-
looks like it is.
And then hilariously, because they are men, they refuse to hug one another. Ha 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 ha.
And also COVID.
Ha 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 ha. Ha. Don't hug me, Dad. I'm a dude.
So because Daisy and Daniel were in that, I'm just going to throw Friday's part of that storyline onto the end here,
Okay.
rather than create something on its own. In the Rovers, Daisy has been sent some kids' clothes by a fancy company off the back of the Bertie photographs that she took the other week.
Yeah, because that happens.
And Daisy's now an influencer.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you post pictures one day of yourself with a cute kid or your cute kids, and then businesses just start sending you stuff.
If only social media worked in the way that soap opera insists that it works.
Right.
Everyone would be an influencer. Companies would be sending everybody free stuff all the time. We'd be getting turkeys through the mail right now.
And Jim Beam. And stuff.
Jenny thinks it's a shame that she's not going out with Daniel anymore. Aye, whatever, says Daisy. I can still hang out with Bertie. Really, can you? Daniel drops into Rovers with homework
Daniel
to mark.
always needs a babysitter.
And is almost caught by Jenny as he tries to smooch Daisy. Daisy shows off the kids' clothes and makes out that she's spent them on Bertie herself. He's a good kid, she says. Daniel is very appreciative, but after a number of messages on her phone, Daisy has to come clean that the company who sent the clothes thought that Daisy is Bertie's mum, and now she's getting bothered by other people wanting to send clothes and stuff, and Daniel is furious that Daisy didn't set the record straight about not being Bertie's mum,
Right.
and leaves in a huff. So Daisy goes to Daniel's flat and apologises for not explaining any of this and for giving the impression that she's making money from Bertie. Daniel is now very concerned about misappropriating Bertie's image, which Adam tried to make a case for last week.
Right.
But he chooses to accept Daisy's apology and suggests a picture of all three of them together. But then when she's going through her Instagram, he notices that some of the photographs that were taken on their theatre date have been cropped to get him out of the photograph.
Right. And he's very offended at this.
Are you embarrassed by me, he asks. Well, I am now, says Daisy. And Daniel chucks her out, but he's got to go and pick up Bertie from whoever.
The
is looking.
childminder. It's like it's the childminder does not get a name. Their name is childminder. It reminds me of the child snatcher on Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I thought she did get a name this week because Daisy didn't know who it was. And Dan says it's a childminder.
Right. Yeah.
But
He
Daisy
says childminder twice.
But Daisy refuses to leave. She wants to talk about it. Daisy admits how quickly it got out of hand and how the comments were flattering. And you think this face just makes itself up in the morning? And Daniel snaps that the only thing Daisy cares about is Daisy. Daisy hates the arrogance and self-aggrandising of Daniel, which you can understand. Daniel says it's better than being self-obsessed, and they shout some more. And then they end up winching the faces off each other.
Yes. It's like a bad rom-com, isn't it?
Because it's the 1980s and we're watching Dallas again. Or Dynasty. This is Alexis snogging somebody that she's been shouting at for an episode or two.
This is like... It's Pride and Prejudice. It's Clueless.
It's fucking Clueless, all right. Tell you that. It
I
reminds
hate
me.
you. I love you. I hate you. I love you.
It reminds me of a scene from Frasier when Frasier is having a conversation with a woman who's been brought in to do the investment news and stock market news and stuff like that.
Oh, right, yeah.
And they kind of clash and they're not getting on, and she's just interested in doing her 5 minutes and then getting out of here and whatever, and stealing some of his time, I think. So they end up having an argument and they're shouting at each other, "You're a shrew, oh, you're a half-wit. Are you as turned on as I am right now?"
Yes.
What? No! The woman's not turned on at all and gets Frasier done for sexual harassment.
But I seem to remember at least once on Frasier him shouting at a woman and the woman shouting at him, and they winch the face off of one another.
Well, that's a trope.
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening right here.
That's what's happening right here. I think we've proved that this trope surpasses genre.
It's just, really? That's what we're going to do? Really?
This is what we're going to do.
And that takes us to the end of that storyline.
Fine, because I like this coupling.
I hate it.
I love it. I thought the whole, child clothes thing was kind of stupid.
That was very stupid.
And that, all of a sudden...
How did they get her address?
I don't know. They would have messaged her and she would have had to have agreed to do this. Because,
Also, she's lying when she's surprised by it then.
Well, I think maybe she's surprised by the quality and how much is sent to her. Because, I have had people message me on Instagram wanting me to promote their stuff, but it's never anything.
Really?
But it's never anything I'm interested in promoting, so I just ignore it. It's always something that has nothing to do with anything on my Instagram. So it's dumb. But, they have to contact you first. You don't just get random packages in the mail.
No.
That would be stupid. There has to be some sort of promise that you're going to wear the clothes.
I'm confused as to whether Daniel has a problem. Did he have a problem with the social media exploitation of his son, or is it more the fact that Daisy was pretending to be a single mum, or was it that Daisy's pretending to be Sinead?
I think it's the last two. I think it's first the fact that people assumed that she was Bertie's mum, and she didn't try to make out like she wasn't. And then Daniel kind of forgave her for that. But then when he noticed that she was pretending to be a single mom and that she had hashtagged only man in my life, then I think that bothered him too. But I think the whole Sinead thing bothered him because he will always love Sinead, his dead wife. And I think the other part, got him upset because he's a Barlow.
Well,
and so, his
I think he's kind of right to be upset about this.
arrogance is like up here.
I'm only annoyed that he's not bothered more by it. Because that should really be the end of it. Because anything that says about Daisy's character isn't positive.
I kind of think he likes the fact that Daisy isn't perfect. Because Sinead was perfect. So he's going for like the anti-Sinead. He's not going for the sweet, bubbly blonde who everyone loves. He's going for the broody brunette who nobody loves.
Who he's happy to have around his child. I don't know, it just seems that even the fact that she was...
He loves passing that child on to lots of people.
Of course, but the Barlow in him makes it that's okay because he's off doing other things and
Important
changing the world
things
and stuff.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think both crimes are kind of sufficient enough to kick her to the curb. Or maybe that's just wishful thinking.
I think that's wishful thinking on your part because you don't like Daisy.
Let's move on, and I'm a fan of Daniel. Let's move on then to... I don't know, it kind of makes the relationship even less believable for me that this has been allowed to pass.
I don't know. I think the thing that still bothers me the most is that they're keeping their relationship a secret for no reason.
For no reason?
No reason. None.
I mean, do that at the start.
He tries to kiss her in public. Jenny's not there, but there are other people in the bar when he does this.
See, the Barlow and him is going to make that impossible to do.
Right, yeah.
Because that means that he's going to be watching her, and she'll be more than capable of doing this. Flirting with other people and stuff.
Yeah.
And he'll obviously take it as being...
I fully expected that footballer to come back this week.
Right.
And I'm sure he will. And Daniel's going to freak out.
Yeah, that football player enjoyed his shite in the Rovers toilet. Anyway, moving on.
He enjoyed his jobby.
Our next... Sometimes it is the highlight of the day.
It is.
Our next storyline this morning is a battle for Roy's conscience. On Monday, DS Fringe is back and she's at Abby's looking for help. Forensics have linked the gun that killed Natasha to a job that was done a few years ago that involved Tez, because that used a floating gun as well. Quite the coincidence, says DS Fringe. Abby pleads innocence and puts it down to coincidence, denying it when DS Abney puts it directly to her. Mm-hmm. Seconds after speaking to the cops, what does Abby do? She meets up with Tez across from Tattoo'll Do Nicely at the community garden. Tez knows about the cops being on to the gun, and he says that he won't take a fall for her. Roy is sweeping up outside Roy's Rolls and sees this exchange happen and looks on concerned.
Lots of people looking on concerned from doorways this week.
But really though, the cops are just off your door. Your doorstep is still warm from their footmarks.
Mm-hmm. And you call up
Tez and you meet him.
Right, in public.
It's real.
Fine, whatever.
At the garage, Abby explains the lie of the land to Kev about Tez's gun. Kev thinks Tez will keep his mouth shut, but Abby isn't so sure if push comes to shove. So in Roy's Rolls, Roy asks Nick if they're getting any comfort from the culprit for Natasha's murder being behind bars. Nick is glad that whoever touched that gun are nervous as fuck about the recent police involvement, and this makes Roy a little nervous. So Kev arranges to meet Tez and the Gunnel through surreptitious means. He pretends to be Abby, but the wig, it comes off a little bit.
Right, yeah, and he forgot to shave his beard off.
Right. In other words, Kev looks exactly like he did on his wedding day.
Yeah.
He tries to, she tells Tez to keep Abby out of it. If she could protect him, she would, and it should go both ways. Dob her in, and it would kill her, says Kev. So Roy goes to see Abby about her meeting with Tez, and he wants to know if the gun was the gun that killed Natasha. She admits that it is, but she promises that she'll deal with it. Roy doesn't think that this crime should spur more crimes to keep Tez quiet, and he makes a case for telling the truth. It's simpler. It means that you don't have to keep track of anything. You tell the truth and that's it. It's over. It's done with. Fuck that, says Abby. She can't go back to prison, and she begs Roy not to crack now. And then Kirk and Beth are in Roy's rolls looking to scam some free toad. Is it toad that they want or hole that they want? No, they don't want the hole. They want toad
They want
with
toad
no hole.
with
They
no
want just
hole.
a sausage.
Because it's like 30p cheaper than 2 sausages.
They've hacked Roy's menu, and depending on how they go for the special, they can save themselves 30p. So Roy loses his temper at this and throws him out, just as DS Fringe comes in, wanting to ask some questions of a very animated and distressed Roy.
Ugh.
And later, after DS Fringe is gone, has DS Fringe changed her hair this week? There was a wee bit of a cow's lick that she had in her...
It was lighter,
Was it?
I think. Either that or I'm just so used to seeing her in that really, really dark interrogation room where they never turn the lights on.
Right. Later, after DS Fringe is gone, Abby goes to check on the story that he told. He admits that he lied again, and he feels ashamed, and he asks Abby to leave.
Right. I
And so
never
she
want to
does.
see you again.
So Abby gets home and Kev explains his encounter with Tez. Abby has a bad feeling about this, and she thinks it's a matter of time before she gets collared for it. We're in this together, says Kev, which just makes it worse. Then Nina comes back to Roy's rolls and finds Roy in a very distressed mood. He explains about DS Fringe's visit and his web of lies, and how the gun that Abby had killed Natasha. You can't keep blaming yourself, says Nina. I'm not, says Roy. And I'm like, okay, this has just got interesting. Nina is astonished that Roy could think that she was to blame for Natasha's death. Roy thinks Nina's secrecy and his belief that he could reason with Abby are both to blame. He should have gone to the police straight away. Then Abby would be in prison, says Nina, and Natasha would still be alive, says Roy.
Not true.
Well, where would the gun have come from then?
There are a lot of knives in that house.
Yeah, but then Roy would have had nothing to do with it.
Right. Yeah. But see, remember, this was my argument last week. Harvey was dead set on killing Leanne. So it was a happy accident that a gun just happened to float by him.
Mm-hmm. A little mouse reading on it.
And that, he managed to find the one tunnel that poured him out onto some
Nearby street, let's go
nearby
for
street, as opposed to drowning
the sea.
with Johnny. That was a happy accident.
Mm.
But his plan was to kill Leanne. Nothing was going to stand in his way, including gravity
Well,
and,
Plot.
the way time works. So,
well, sure.
and the locks on car doors.
Right.
So regardless, because for some reason Natasha was in that apartment, which there's no reason why she should have been in that apartment with all of the lights off, Harvey was going to kill her one way or another.
Yeah.
It made it easier to kill her with a gun, but he would have choked her to death, stabbed her to death. He would have done something.
Yeah, but that's missing Roy's point.
Right. But see, Roy is missing the point that it's not his fault.
No, it is. Well, it's not that it's his fault, but that
It's not Abby's fault either.
that he played a part in it. That the gun that he had a chance to do something about was the gun that killed Natasha.
Right.
If he had gone to the police and reported Abby, and Abby had gone to prison, Natasha may still have died, but it would have had nothing to do with Roy, and that is Roy's point.
Right. But Natasha would still have died, and he
But it would
acts
have,
like she wouldn't.
but it wouldn't have been on Roy's conscience.
Right, but his whole thing is, that wee boy doesn't talk and his mother is dead because I didn't report it to the police. And that's not true.
Well, in Roy's head, and for shorthand, it is.
Yeah, but it's not.
But as far as Roy's concerned, it is.
Yeah.
And he's right that gun was the gun that killed Natasha. And if he had done something about it, then Harvey would have had to have done something else to make that wee boy not speak again.
No, because Harvey would have still gotten that gun.
Not,
They wouldn't have found the gun.
Not if
the gun would have floated away already.
Not if there was no gun.
Right. But Roy reporting that Abby had a gun would not have stopped Harvey and the gun from floating out at the same time, is my point.
No, but the gun wouldn't have been there. Because Abby wouldn't have been there. Because Abby would have been in jail for having a gun.
No, because he would have reported it after the gun had floated away and after he had saved Corrie and Abby. All of these things happened after the gun floated away. The gun would have still floated away because Roy didn't find out about the gun until Abby and Corrie were already in that hole.
Oh, yeah, that's
Nina
true. That is
told...
true.
Thank you.
That is true.
Thank you. Nina didn't tell Roy about the gun until after the street started splitting apart and nobody could find Abby. That's when Nina told Roy about the gun.
Oh, well, maybe...
None of this would have stopped Natasha from dying.
Maybe there would have been some increased police presence. Or
There was
something.
already increased police presence because the street was falling apart.
Anyway, so Roy's blaming himself.
Right.
Shorthand. D.S. Fringe has been busy and goes back to see Abby to explain that Tez has been arrested and has said that he can't remember who he sold the gun to. That's a shame, says Abby. D.S. Fringe says that's everything for now and leaves. And finally, Abby seems to be aware of the part that she played in Natasha's death, although she seems more upset that Roy lied than Natasha died. Later, Nina has gone and Roy is sitting in the dark in his closed cafe. After some thought, he gets up, grabs his jacket and leaves. And he turns up at the law office looking for Adam for some reason, but Imran will do. He wants to draft up the documentation to transfer everything he owns in Nina's name. He's not going to be needing any of it anymore. I'm surprised that there's no red flags really here from a legal point of view. I think Imran is slightly concerned that are you sure that you want to do this?
Quite puzzled.
But, you know, this
What?
this kind of sounds like you might be thinking about finishing yourself off.
Yeah.
But not like that. Or maybe like that, I don't know. On Wednesday, early in Roy's roles, Roy apologises to Nina for implying that she was responsible for Natasha's death. Nina is just relieved that they're still on good terms. Roy insists that his life is better with Nina in it, but he can't burden her with his guilt, and he leaves. Roy goes to see Abby and asks her to sell Woody for him, but not like that. She's reluctant because she knows how much it means to him. Can you sell it or not, says Roy, and she agrees and tells him that Tess has promised to keep his mouth shut. Roy could not give a single fuck, just sell my motor, he says.
Yeah.
So Abby drops into Roy's roles later and lets Nina know that she's found a buyer for the Woody. Now Nina is very concerned that Roy isn't coping. He'd never sell that car. It means so much to him after all the memories that he had with Haley.
Right.
So Adam drops into Roy's roles next, looking for Nina's signature.
And wouldn't Nina need a car if he's signing over his whole estate to Nina? Wouldn't that include Woody? I mean, yes, she'd paint it black and make it look like a hearse, but you know.
Sell it. Fuck it. Adam drops into Roy's roles next, looking for Nina's signature on paperwork. Nina hasn't a clue what he's talking about, so Adam has to explain that everything that Roy owns is hers once she signs the documents, because that's how long that takes. Nina practically passes out through an anxiety attack about this. She rushes to the garage to speak to Abby. She's worried that Roy is going to take his own life and explains about him signing everything over to her, and they both finally realise that their stupid actions have had consequences. Back at Roy's roles, Nina is calling Carla to explain her concerns when Roy wanders in. He's confused why anyone would think that he's suicidal. Instead, though, he reveals that he's leaving Weatherfield for good tonight.
He's going to South America to be a chef.
He's accepted a job as a chef
in South
America. We don't get any more specific than that. So if you have to send a card to him, it's Mr. Royston Cropper.
It
South
kind of
America.
sounds like maybe it's for a charity or like Doctors Without Borders or something.
Yeah,
that's what I'm assuming, that it's for some sort of charitable organization.
The wheels of this are moving at breakneck speed.
Right,
Again.
yeah. The fact that he's taken this job and that he's got his passport and everything all sorted.
Any work visas that he might need.
Right, yeah. During COVID.
Oh, God
dear.
bless him. So he's loved
He's
this
a man
place,
of action.
but recent events have served his life here. He's
But not like
tormented.
that.
He needs to leave. Nina tries to talk him round, but he's untalk-roundable. Dina has arranged for Mary, Kathy, Brian, Carla, Chesney and Fizz to gather outside Roy's Rolls to make their pleas for Roy to stay.
It's an intervention.
Roy looks appalled at the shoddy standard of the pleas, and he phones his taxi to get them to come sooner. "You're all I have," says Carla. "You have a husband," says Roy. "Oh yeah," says Carla. And then Roy is shocked to learn that
That's different.
Carla knows something, but not all about what's been going on thanks to Nina's voicemail that she left earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Carla demands to know what's going on. "There are some things you're best not knowing," says Roy.
And Carla gets uppity about that because she's now a Barlow.
Right. So Roy has now packed.
How dare you have secrets from me?
And is ready to leave. Nina is in tears as she stands in his way, stopping him from leaving. The taxi arrives and Roy thinks it's unfair to make him wait. Nina calls him cruel for leaving her. Roy calls it his only hope for peace in his heart. And Nina will always have a place to call home because he's signed everything over to her. Now shift your arse.
Yeah, but that doesn't count if you leave. You made a promise to your dying brother to take care of Nina. Mm-hmm. That means you need to be there, not just sign everything over to her.
Nina shifts and Roy leaves, and as Nina cries her eyes out, a black cab takes Roy away from Coronation Street.
And we see reflected, very artfully. Even though I think it's supposed to be at night, isn't it?
It was at night, but there's street lights, so there would be reflections from the
Rovers.
Because that's lit up.
Yeah, I suppose.
It works. And that brings us on to this week's hard debate.
Oh, you got the right button. Good job, my darling.
Yep. But not like that. Wait, what? Did Roy just leave? Like, did Roy just leave? Mm-hmm. Our options were, he's gone for good, he's probably just taken a wee break, or he'll be back on Friday. So really, long term, medium term, short term, long term / forever.
I would assume, since it's a job in another country that he's not a citizen of, this would be a
South America. No, he's not a citizen
Right.
of South America.
Right, he's not a citizen of the continent of South America.
Spanish or Portuguese? Which one? Who knows? I think it's just Brazil that speak Portuguese, isn't it? I think everyone else is Spanish.
I think Paraguay speaks Portuguese as well. Either Paraguay or Uruguay. I always get the two of those mixed up. Anyway.
Gone for good. Just a wee break. Back on Friday. Well, we can eliminate back on Friday.
Yeah, because he wasn't back on Friday.
Right.
But that doesn't stop us from voting for back on Friday.
Well, the vote had expired by the time the show had aired on Friday.
Correct.
So it was still valid. The voting was, he's gone for good, 11.9%. He'll be back on Friday, 20.8%. And probably just a wee break was the winner with 67.3%. I think a little bit of wishful thinking there. And a lot of commentary that they reckon he'll be back by Christmas. So in a month then.
Right. Well, again, because he's in some country in South America. Where he is not a citizen.
He's in South. Where's Roy? Oh, he's in South America. Where in South America? Yep. He is definitely somewhere
in South America. That, he would have to come home eventually once his work visa runs out. One would assume he's not going to be in South America forever.
Well, it depends on what. Well, he hasn't got a visa, but it depends on what kind of visa he's got, whether it was a temporary or a permanent one.
Right.
Because I had a green card and I wasn't a citizen.
Right.
And that gave me permanent residency.
Yeah, but Roy's not going to marry a South American.
And nor does he need to.
Anyway, so I'm hoping that it's temporary. It seems really abrupt. It seems like...
You think so?
It seems like...
24 hours notice that he's managed to arrange flights to South America from Manchester, which I guess you can probably do.
Right, yeah. I
applied for a job, he's got a job, he's presumably been interviewed.
I mean, David Nielsen is one of the most beloved actors on this show. His acting is so good. He's constantly winning awards. He's the old Jude Reardon.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why. Maybe he sees that Jude's going to be stealing the limelight. Here's why I'm concerned. He went off in a black cab.
Right. And there
black
was
cabs,
reflections of...
well, the reflections are neither here nor there, but
Right,
the
but
black
it's an
cab
artful thing of saying goodbye.
right. The black cab is rather emblematic of people leaving to pursue new opportunities.
Right, but it feels like it was written in very abruptly, that this was not something that the show is planning on.
Well, we've had Roy feeling like this for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but leaving and breaking his promise to his dead brother, that doesn't...
Yeah, he hardly knew him.
Yeah, but he made a promise, and Roy keeps his promises.
It's an ambiguous promise, though. What does take care of really mean? Does it mean you're going to be there forever? Well, no, because you're going to die.
Right, but still, it makes me wonder, if... Because remember that Maureen Lipman left the show for a hiatus after coming back because she didn't think that the show was doing enough as far as COVID protections.
Yeah, I think the only things that we have...
And also she was in mourning.
And they're good reasons and they're good things, is that there's been no... I've read nothing... Not that I really look for spoilers, but I've read nothing that David Nielsen was going to be leaving the show.
No, until last week.
You'd think there'd be a little bit more fuss if it was a permanent decision. I really hope it isn't, obviously. And my suspicion is that it isn't. But what really grabbed me this week was, this is how it's going to feel when he does leave. Is when he does get into that black cab, and it is a permanent black cab, and he doesn't come back. This kind of sense of loss almost, and grief of a character leaving is
very much so.
This is how that will feel. So they've kind of done it in a way that it looks for all the world to be permanent, which gives you that kind of, holy shit, really? He's leaving? Or he's left?
Yeah.
Ugh.
We're not happy about it.
No. And I really wish it was more specific than South America. Can we not say Peru? Well, why can't we just say Argentina? Or why can't we just name a country at least?
Yeah. I mean, at least Gail said Thailand.
Right.
And
she wasn't going to Asia.
No.
Anyway. So on Friday, at home, Abby is rightly blaming herself for Roy doing a runner. Kev thinks this was Roy's decision. Well, what about Sam's mutism, says Abby. Fuck all you can do about that, says Kev. And that seems to be a sufficient argument. Later,
that's Kev's argument for everything.
Kev, by the way, looking exactly as he did on his wedding day again. Later, Debbie pops in to see Kev and encourages him to get away on their honeymoon. After all, they've been married for ages now, and she promises she'll take care of Jack. Abby goes to see Nick and Leanne about Sam coming over later to play with Jack because the two of them are the same age and that. Really, no, they are the same age. Nick agrees and tells her to pick him up from Toya's later because Toya's looking after him while they go to Oliver's grave, because we have now been 1 year Oliver free on Coronation Street. Later, Abby and Jack are kicking a ball about in the street with Sam, who isn't interested in any of this and is probably questioning why he's there in the first place. Abby wants to play a shouting game and gets quite aggressive with Sam when he doesn't want to play along. Jack wants Abby to take a chill pill for fuck's sake, but Abby will not be dissuaded until Kev comes along, drags Abby away before she hits the kid. Abby really was kind of out of control at that point.
Right, she was basically Lily last week.
Why won't you shout? Why won't you speak? Speak, damn it, speak. And Sam just... Okay, so you're stable then. At home, Abby explains that she just wanted Sam to feel better by screaming at him. Kev explains a very lengthy chain of events that had to play out for Harvey to shoot Natasha, and most of it probably isn't her fault.
Right, which is exactly my argument.
Yeah, so and you took just about as long. So Kev takes Sam back home and then comes back home himself. Abby wants to talk about it some more, but Kev doesn't want to listen. The two of them are heading off to their honeymoon in 90 minutes to an unspecified beach somewhere.
Right.
Maybe in South America, who knows?
Maybe.
Hurry up and pack, he says. And soon they leave, Kev careful to make sure that Abby doesn't see Kelly on the street in another storyline.
Correct.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yes. He's going to buy her a toothbrush on the beach.
Right.
Somewhere in the world where there's a warm beach.
Yeah. Just let me grab my toothbrush. Nope. I'll buy you a new toothbrush. You can't wait 30 seconds for me to grab my toothbrush? Nope. Okay. You'd rather spend $3.99 on a new toothbrush?
Yep.
Now get in that cab and don't look that way.
I'm sure they're cheaper in South America than that.
Yeah.
Unless you're in Venezuela, where everything is expensive because Venezuela.
Because of socialism.
Because of oil. Because of the opposite of socialism.
The price of oil. So, it's very hard to come out of this storyline feeling anything like positive given that Roy left on Wednesday.
No.
And it kind of shadows everything else that happened. I'm quite glad to see. It's good that Abby is going away for a wee while because Sam's safe again now. So
it was good for Abby and Kev to get away, I think. Wow, that's like 3 people who are gone. And there are so many people who just aren't there, like Paul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's getting
Evelyn. Where's Evelyn?
Really empty on that street.
Mm-hmm. Leanne's still there, though. She's not getting a break.
And it sounds like she needs a break. It sounds like she's got like a sore throat or something.
She was sick whenever she was filming this, definitely.
Yeah, they're making her work sick. But they can't get Peter Ash onto the
I tell you
cobbles
something,
for a storyline.
Jane Danson, maybe pay those union dues in future.
Poor Jane.
Moving on then, our next storyline this morning, because I think we kind of, that's really Roy, and we've spoken about that at length.
Yes.
Our next storyline this morning is Faye is still a thing. On Monday, this was kind of funny. On Monday, I don't know if it was meant to be funny, but by God, I laughed. On Monday, word has spread that Debbie has helped Faye, and both Craig and Tim are very appreciative that Faye might get bail today, and Tim could kiss everyone. Sally catches up with Craig drinking on his own in the Rovers.
And Debbie makes some comment about it being 2019. I didn't understand that at all.
Oh, no. Sally catches up with Craig drinking on his own in the Rovers in the middle of the day. Faye is getting out and she asks him to go and set the oven on to fill the house with the smell of nibbles, and she makes a joke about yellow ribbons that Craig is obviously going to take literally because he doesn't understand it.
And I was really confused because as far as I knew, that song was not about somebody getting out of prison. It was about somebody coming home from war.
We've had this conversation.
Have we?
Yeah. I can't remember.
Are there
which
2
one it is.
versions of the song? Is there one for prison and one for returning from war? Because here on Veterans Day, people tie yellow ribbons around trees in remembrance of veterans of foreign war.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was aware of the jail connotation of it. Because we've had this conversation before. We've had this,
Sure
this disagreement before. But I don't know where I learned that or where I heard that. Was it Tom Jones that sang it? I think maybe the most famous version of it was Tom Jones. Maybe he changed some lyrics or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Tom Jones, the famous American singer.
I didn't say that.
No, I know. I was making a point that, Tom Jones is not an American, and yet he sang about coming home from war.
No, I'm saying that he come home from jail, and I think that's why we think that. It's maybe change some lyrics or something.
Anyway.
Sally, Tim and Faye get home. Faye takes one look at Craig and his yellow ribbons and his welcome home banners, and upset, she runs up the stairs of Discovery. She's only out on bail, she shouts. She might have to go back. Oh, pig's tits, says Craig.
Glad to see their chemistry is still working.
Bit much, says Tim. Yeah, it's a great sign when the first thing she does when she sees him is run up the stairs.
Yeah.
But not like that.
No.
So later, Faye comes down the stairs of Discovery to discover that Craig is sorry for his yellow ribbon stuff, but he ups the useless boyfriend ante by suggesting that they celebrate her release by going to play an escape room.
Where they lock you in and you have to figure out how to get out.
Faye is appalled. Craig realises that he's the world's biggest fanny. And then in comes Gary and Faye, rushes to give him a hug, leaving Craig looking and feeling like a total plank.
Because he is a total plank.
Later, Faye is off talking to Sally, which allows Tim and Gary to insist to Craig that Faye really cares for him despite the lack of chemistry that they have, and he needs to learn to speak to her better and more. So later, Craig and Faye have an awkward conversation and then agree to go for a walk and maybe buy a chemistry set.
Yes.
On Wednesday, Craig goes to see Faye, who is still struggling to adjust to life on the outside. Must be hell, says Craig. But then comes Debbie and offers Faye her old job back, and despite Craig's protestations otherwise, she agrees. I thought we agreed that you were going to take it easy, he says.
Right, yeah.
And she's like, well,
I was just taking it easy from you.
As for the Bistro, Faye has fucked up someone's order. It's the Shade girl from a few weeks ago.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Faye has fucked up her order and keeps expecting to see Ray Weinstein lurking in the shadows.
Right. Yeah, she was supposed to get a lamb shank and she gave her fish instead, and she's allergic to fish.
Because those are close. When Debbie slams the door, Faye shits herself and drops and breaks a plate. Faye explains her bad memories to Debbie, who is understanding, but when Tim comes in and winds Faye up for being a slacker, Faye quits and rushes off.
Fuck you, Tim.
No doubt ascending the stairs of discovery as soon as she gets home.
What the hell, man? Here you.
So you having a break already? You've only been working here for 5 minutes.
Here, your daughter gets out of prison. You've arranged this whole her getting her job back a little too quickly. And then you come in and you're a dick to her.
Mm-hmm. Tim and Faye have a chat.
Father of the year.
Tim and Faye have a chat about Seb in the community garden. Faye talks like she's been away for years, not a few weeks. Tim blames himself for the Bistro stuff and asking Debbie for the favour. Faye admits that she wants to work. She needs a distraction. Craig just isn't distraction enough, apparently. So even though neither of them work at the factory, they show up at the factory and Tim asks Sarah if Faye can get Alina's old job. Faye remembers why she was in prison in the first place, but Sarah agrees to give her a trial.
Right, because she knows how to sell squeegees.
Well, yeah, and also she tried to kill Adam.
But Adam has forgiven her,
Right.
Because it was a case of mistaken identity.
And that's as far as we get
Because Sarah also wants to kill Adam.
for that this week. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody who's just gotten out of prison should maybe wait a week or two before going back to work in places with loud noises that might startle them or lots of people that might freak them out.
Yeah, and no pool table.
And no invisible cats.
It was quite funny, though. Craig just being the worst boyfriend in the world again. Did you think that they know that they don't have any chemistry? Or is the show trying to insist that they do and we're just wrong for not spotting it?
It was when Faye just runs into Gary's arms.
And Craig's left looking.
And Craig has not gotten a single hug or anything. And yes, I know COVID, but still, it. I hope they break them up soon, because it's not a relationship that works on screen.
Yeah.
They have no chemistry.
No, it just.
And
but they are really awkward with each other, so that makes me think that they know that there isn't anything clicking here.
Right. Yeah.
Because surely they could do what they've done without being awkward about it.
And I mean, it just reinforces it, Faye talking about regretting not being there for Seb's funeral. Because, they may not have been the most exciting couple in the world, but at least Faye and Seb had chemistry together.
Yeah, because they looked exactly like each other.
So what you're saying is Craig needs to grow his hair out and then dye it brown.
It's a start. Let's move on to Silent Sam. On Monday, Sam and Nick come into Roy's Rolls, Sam heading straight for a shite. The Undertaker offers his old telescope to Sam via Nick, who is still looking constantly on the verge of tears. Nick tries to enlist Roy into tricking Sam into speaking by asking which milkshake he wants. Roy isn't sure that trickery is the answer to this, but Nick is insistent. So Roy tries it, but Sam's words cannot be coaxed, and people have to assume what kind of milkshake he wants.
Strawberry.
I think it's strawberry. Back at the flat, Nick is contemplating reading Sam's notes to his dead mother. Really?
Yeah,
really?
Seriously, don't do that.
And then he drops and smashes the jar, just as the Undertaker arrives with his old telescope.
Good job there, Nick.
He hands it over to Sam with an offer to give it a test drive later. Sam then spots the broken memory jar and quickly rushes off with his notes, but he leaves one on the floor which Nick doesn't think twice about reading. It says Sam wishes that his last words could have been different. And I'm so utterly fucking appalled by Nick here. The way that he's handling this
It's just
is
so bad.
just awful from start to finish.
So bad.
But now he's reading private notes from his son to his son's dead mother. And not thinking, and Leanne's like, I don't think this is a great idea.
What are you doing?
But he can't be stopped. He picks it up, he doesn't think twice about it, and he reads it.
You know, at first I was quite forgiving of Nick because he has his own trauma from his own dead parent.
Sure.
And everything.
It was nice to get a wee mention of that this week again.
And he just, just found out that he was a dad not too long ago. So he has really no experience in it and is, understandably a bit awkward. But the whole reading Sam's notes to his dead mom and just constantly, he knows this whole trickery thing doesn't work. He knows this isn't going to work. And yet he's still constantly enlisting people in it.
Right.
It's, in many ways, it's worse than Abby screaming at Sam because Nick should know better. And Sam knows that it's his dad trying to trick him.
Yeah, it's like he thinks that Sam's a fucking idiot.
Right.
Just because he's not speaking.
Right.
I tell you something, he's probably just as well not speaking to you.
Right.
The Undertaker comes round, and while Sam still isn't speaking, he at least seems engaged. And now Nick is still fucking Mr. Morose and beating himself up about the contents of the note that he had no business reading.
Right.
But now he's also, why can't he be engaged with me?
Because you're
Cheer
an
up.
asshole.
Right.
You should just be happy your son is engaging with anybody. And maybe if you had been the one with a telescope, maybe he'd be engaged with you. Instead of, trying to trick him with milkshakes. Engage with him about something that interests him.
Trying to bring Sam to the yard with a milkshake.
Right.
Damn right.
Or trying to take him to the exercise room in the hotel.
Later, Nick
Let's
gets
remember
home.
he tried that.
Yeah, he's still a misery guts. Leanne urges patience, but it's unclear if she's talking to Nick, or talking to herself, or talking to the audience. On Wednesday, Nick and Leanne are getting ready for the therapy session for Sam. Nick needs to have a fucking word with himself as he's already insisting that it's too late. Leanne urges patience. Walking back from the tram station, moaning-faced Nick and Leanne compare notes about the therapy session. Meanwhile, Sam stops and looks in the Undertaker's window, which sets Nick off again, and once more it's Leanne who has to go and comfort the child because Nick is now essentially a post.
Yes.
The Undertaker turns up at Nick and Leanne's later. He got a note from Sam through his door asking them to come stargazing, so the two of them go to set up the telescope. Sam clearly happy to have someone in the flat whose face isn't tripping them and who doesn't go on about requiring patience.
Right. Or trying to get him to swim or use a treadmill.
The Undertaker is as into astronomy as Sam and is envious of the things that Sam will see in his lifetime. Sam looks like he's never enjoyed anything as much for so very long. And that's the end of this storyline for this week.
Yeah, I really love the Undertaker and we
great.
Sam together. Mm-hmm. Here's the Undertaker taking yet another young man under his wing. Mm-hmm. I'm really starting to really love the Undertaker.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All he's doing though is saying, "Let's do this. If you're interested, great. If you're not a problem.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to talk, that's not a problem either. And I'm not going to keep on going on about it to you.
Right, yeah.
I'll talk to you and you listen for as long as you like.
Yeah.
And when I start to bore you, you can fuck off.
Right.
No harm done.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, Nick is standing in the corner, chewing his nails.
Right.
Trying to get Roy to trick him into fucking saying what milkshake he's wanting.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. It's almost as if the Undertaker
So
knows
infuriating.
something about grief.
And human nature.
Right.
Yeah, the Undertaker is just becoming, in particular in this storyline, he has been for a while. He had his thoughts on whether Sam should be present at the funeral and see the body, and he didn't really think it was a great idea because British.
Yes.
But since then he's Nick could quite easily have gone and bought a new telescope.
Right. Or learned what's coming up astronomically, like the Undertaker has. He's got the calendar, although I think Sam made the calendar and did all the highlighting and stuff, and that the Leonids are still, we may still be able to see the Leonids and everything. Yeah, it would have been very easy for Nick to engage with Sam with stuff Sam's interested in. Mm-hmm. It would not have been hard.
But instead he just wants to stand and worry.
And try to trick him.
Because get it back to normal, and if I get it back to normal again, then I don't have to think about it.
Right. Yeah. It's like all the people who are so desperately trying to get the world back, their world back to normal after COVID. It's like these things take time, and they're never going to be exactly the same again.
Right.
Natasha is still going to be dead even when Sam starts talking again. So things are still not going to be back to the way they were.
Exactly. The next storyline is Councillor Maria. On Wednesday, outside Roy's Rolls, Roy bumps into Sally, whose creative juices are flowing like Niagara Falls. Oof.
Oh, God, that was so gross.
Get a pair of Depends on there.
Tim, I think your wife needs you.
She needs something.
She
Roy,
needs you to do the whole realtor cosplay again.
Roy pulls out of the festive Christmas market idea, so
But not
Sally
like that.
has to drag Maria and possibly Mary into an emergency meeting. Sally demands Maria brings a smörgåsbord of ideas. Sally is spouting shite about the market to Tim when Maria and
then
Mary arrive.
Maria can't do her job because this is more important.
Right. Mary wants to focus on food stalls. Maria has sorted out the pedestrianisation of Victoria Street. Sally's dismissive of Maria, but Maria insists that she's sorted out the paperwork will be through tomorrow.
Right. And Sally's offended by this.
Yeah, she thinks it's because Maria is pretty and looks thick as shite, so the council felt sorry for her.
Right. And yet she doesn't know that the councillor that she thinks would have done this has been
Sacked for being a bit rapey.
Right. Yeah. It's like Sally wants everybody to think that she's in the know with everything, and yet Mary knows more than she does about what's going on with the council.
Right. So a by-election may be happening sooner rather than later. Sally suggests that they join forces with Sally running for councillor and Maria being her trusty sidekick. Maria offers to help with strategy.
And be the campaign manager.
Sally was more thinking about her being a mascot. Maria's furious and tells her to go fuck herself, but later in the Rovers, Maria explains her conversation with Sally to Gary, and it turns out that she's agreed to help Sally's cause, which will help her, help her cause without the responsibility that goes along with it. Gary predicts that this will all turn to shite.
Yes, and he's not wrong.
Right. Sally was quite funny.
Sally will use Maria and then conveniently forget all about Maria's stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Calling it now.
Little filler there, I think, in terms of the storyline.
Right. And I'm disappointed because I was quite looking forward to Sally and Maria campaigning against one another. That would have been hilarious.
It's too close to Sally and Kirk going head to head, which they did the last time when Kirk was the Wethy County mascot and he was running for mayor and looked like he was going to win until he put his vote behind Sally. Anyway, next up in our list of small pointless stories is the curry wars. On Friday, Zeedan is still a thing. He's getting pestered at home from calls from Hasmim. He pretends that he's off out with the curry van to Womslow, but according to Ryan, the road is closed or something, and so he won't be able to go because there's no other road. There's only one road,
pipe.
apparently. Mm-hmm.
Well, I've been to the UK. There are places that only have one road in and out.
Yasmin is pleased as this
Most
means
of them are in
Zeedan
Scotland.
will be able to help out at Speeddal. But at Speeddal, Zeedan is trying to get rid of Alia and Ryan on a date and take Yasmin with them for some massage oil thing or something.
Yeah, for a spa day. Because that seems to be
the best way to get rid of people.
The best way to get rid of people on the show is to buy them a spa day.
Yep. He's more than capable of looking after the place on his own, and despite briefly being suspicious, Alia rushes home to shave her legs. With the place to himself, Zeedan is able to pretend that the Undertaker and Eileen's meal came to £35,000 and that they paid in cash, but then Ryan comes back early from the pampering session and Zeedan has to pretend that the cash is a tip, so Ryan puts it in the tip jar. No, pig's tits, says Zeedan. So later, Hasmim is waiting in the community garden for Zeedan because this storyline is still ongoing and we're still going through the same motions as we were weeks ago. Zeedan explains the usual issues that he's having. Hasmim explains that he doesn't care and that money needs to be pushed through the business. And the two of them are overseen and overheard by Ryan at Speeddal, not for the first time again on that. So those four scenes, again, just seem to be a reminder of this is where we are in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Person A wants person B to do something.
Yes.
Person B doesn't think that they can do something. Person A threatens person B.
Yes.
And we've just had this going on
over and over and over
weeks
again.
and weeks and weeks anytime it's been part of the storyline.
Correct.
So let's move on very quickly then to Sofacking Disgrace. So much going on in those two words. On Friday, Grace is back at the Bailey household.
Ugh.
Aggie doesn't think Grace's recent behaviour, going out on the booze every night, is fair. You're a granny, says Grace. This is what you wanted. Plus the house is dead uncomfy. Maybe if she had a nice sofa, she wouldn't be going out as often.
Sure.
And later, though, there's further agitation when Michael agrees to babysit for another night.
You can't babysit your own child.
Well, Grace goes out on the randan.
That's your baby. You don't babysit your own baby, dads.
Aggie isn't fooled by this, but Grace insists that she has kept to her side of the bargain, and again mentions that if the house was comfier, she wouldn't go out. So Aggie relents and agrees to buy her a sofa. In the pub, Grace gets chatting to Bernie about mothers-in-law and the tightrope that they walk. Bernie is keen to get something for the house for Ches and Gemma to thank them. She was going to get a tattoo, but maybe it should be better getting them something that they can actually use. And Grace might be able to help. She's about to come across some nice furniture to sell on. And that's as far as we get with that this week. What'd you make of that? I think Grace is now fully a bitch.
Yes. This
transformation is complete.
Oh, and I hate it. I hate it so much. Ugh, because everybody sucks here.
Yeah.
Everybody sucks here.
Aggie sucks because she's the kind of the narky, complaining, overpowering
and also
mother-in-law.
Because she's allowed Grace to bully her into silence when all of this could be easily taken care of if she just told Michael the truth about what Grace was doing and went to a lawyer and said, hey, you know, we need something in writing where there's visitation for both and everything. If they had something set in stone,
right,
then there would be nothing Grace could do and she couldn't blackmail them. You know, Michael sucks because he says he's going to babysit his own child and also because he's constantly taking Grace's side against his mother, which just makes his mother more agitated.
Right.
And Grace...
Agitated. I'm not sure that was worth breaking your chain of thought, but it was there.
It was there, and I went for it, and I'm not sorry. And then Grace sucks because she's still blackmailing Aggie. She does deserve a night out every once in a while. I kind of hate the whole insinuation that mothers aren't allowed to go out.
Yeah, she's going out every night though.
Yeah.
Well, according to Aggie.
According to Aggie, she's going out every night. And she's not like going out with her friends or anything.
She's drinking alone in the Rovers.
Right. Which lots of people do that without bothering their in-laws about the kids.
Right.
I mean, I think Sarah and Adam genuinely have forgotten that Harry is a thing.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's just, I hate this whole storyline, and I hope it comes to a close soon.
Yeah. We were going somewhere to getting the Baileys outside the Bailey storylines, and
now we've shoved them back.
We kind of regress back into a Bailey-centric
Yeah, what's happening with the whole Danny and James thing?
Because presumably he's left now. And
I would assume so, because we don't see him working at the bistro anymore.
It's kind of more interesting than this.
Yes.
Still going on.
Very much so.
Our final storyline this morning is Kelly's painfully long redemption storyline. On Monday,
Kelly on the streets.
Homeless, a Bruce Springsteen song if ever I heard one. On Monday, Homeless Stew is explaining the virtues of a fibrous diet to Homeless Kelly. They're heading to the soup kitchen, but Homeless Kelly clocks Billy dishing out the soup and does a runner, but not before he sees her, or he thinks he sees her.
Right. He sees enough of her.
Homeless Stew catches up with her, and she comes clean about being involved in Seb's death, although she maintains that she didn't hurt him or anything, and Homeless Stew explains that they're all in this situation because of mistakes, and they need to stick together. At this point, I'm quite appreciative of Homeless Stew's attitude to all this.
Right, yeah.
He's not been preachy yet.
I love Homeless Stew. He's great.
He seems to have a quip for every situation that kind of grinds on me by the time we get to Friday, but on Monday it's fine.
I don't really understand his homeless storyline, but we'll get to that.
Right. Much later, Billy runs into Imran and explains how he saw Homeless Kelly earlier on, and she looked homeless because she was hanging out with Homeless Stew. she's not with Laura the Chin after all. Imran says he'll get in touch with Laura, which by any reckoning they probably should have done ages ago.
Correct.
On Wednesday at the flat, Toya is still holding out for the police to find Kelly, plus no news from Laura the Chin. Imran and Toya are beginning to fear the worst, so Imran decides to track Laura down for himself. Again, I thought this was already happening.
Right.
Homeless Kelly and Homeless Stu are down to their last pound. Homeless Stu is surprised that no one is missing Kelly. She tells him that she's burned all her bridges with her friends and her family after the Seb stuff. That cough of Stu's isn't getting any better, and Kelly doesn't think to ask about it. Stu reveals, though, that he used to be a chef and has a wife and a daughter he hasn't seen in ages somewhere, possibly South America.
Right. And that he's homeless because he lost his job due to COVID. But it seems like he's been on the street longer than 2 years because he's quite experienced in, when when Freshco's throws away their sandwiches and
his dental plan's still valid though, which is at least something.
And the indignity he has about living rough and people looking down their noses at you for living rough and everything. This man has been homeless longer than COVID.
I thought so. So Imran tracks down Daniel, forgetting that it was Laura the Chin he was actually looking for, and he tells Daniel that he's worried about Kelly, and Daniel's like, "Why are you speaking to me?" Imran has roped Daniel into pretending to be a journalist interested in buying Kelly and Laura's story again, which lures Laura the Chin to the bistro and into Imran's clutches.
Ha ha ha.
After a fashion, Laura admits that she hasn't seen or heard from Kelly in ages, and Laura thinks that Kelly is old enough and ugly enough to look after herself now. Homeless Stu starts to wind...
And she's got a new fella with a hot tub and a pergola.
Right. She's quite funny, Laura, isn't she? She's quite funny. Homeless Stu starts to wind Kelly up by telling her to swallow her pride and go and stay with a mate. Kelly insists that no one loves her, and she's eaten her biscuit, and so she tells Homeless Stu to fuck off and be homeless somewhere else. Then Billy meets up with Imran and the Rover, still no news from Kelly and no new sightings. Imran is worried sick, and they're out of theories as to where she could be. Imran thinks she's probably on the streets, which is what Billy said yesterday. They could find her at a moment's notice if they really wanted to.
One would think.
And sure enough, Kelly is under the cardboard when a drug dealer offers her some free spice.
Because again,
That's nutmeg.
we're on Dune.
Here's some nutmeg. Knock yourself out.
We're on Dune now.
Kelly refuses, but one worries how long she'll be able to resist. Right. On Friday, it's the next morning, homeless Kelly is once more being harassed by the drug dealer who leaves his number on a cigarette packet.
Classy.
Along comes Jacob to scare the dealer away, and then along comes Homeless Stu to scare Jacob away, and then along comes the demons from Homeless Stu's nightmares to scare away Homeless Stu.
Yeah, Jacob's back. He's not dead.
Right, you were worried that he was dead.
I thought for sure he was dead. But apparently not only is he not dead, he's back to dealing, even though Harvey's behind bars again.
He's working for Sharon now then.
He must be.
One would assume. Somebody's working for Sharon.
And he warns her against the spice because it'll turn her eyes blue.
So bad. So Homeless Stu goes to see Nina at Nina's Rolls, because it's Nina's Rolls now, who is unusually cheery considering that Roy left his home thanks to her and Abby less than 24 hours ago. Homeless Stu tries to get Nina to forgive Homeless Kelly and encourage her home, but Nina and Asha both tell him to fuck off out of their faces.
Yeah, and Asha needs to back off here. Mm-hmm. Because Nina can speak for herself.
Absolutely.
Asha is so overbearing. I can't stand her anymore, and that makes me sad that I can't stand this teenage child.
Homeless Stu gets back to Homeless Kelly and explains his run-in with Nina, which infuriates Homeless Kelly. He goes off to speak with the hostel. That man never sits peace for 5 minutes. He's always going somewhere.
Right. Why not just take her with you? Didn't he say you should come with me and she refuses?
Yes.
Yeah, this time.
But
Later.
She decides to give that drug dealer a call after all. Hello, drug dealer? Hi, it's Homeless Kelly here. I'm looking for some free drugs, please. And later we see Homeless Kelly is out of her tits on spice. Homeless Stu comes back and is gutted to see her like this. He tells her to hold tight and goes off to get help.
Right, instead of picking her up and taking her to the hospital.
Yeah, because she looks like she's about to vomit
again.
in her own mouth. But she doesn't hold tight and she goes off for a wander.
Yeah, because apparently she may be high off her tits, but she can still walk?
Yeah, and
kinda?
And is keen to go and do some begging in front of some kids. They laugh at her and call her a dosser, and somebody calls her a bitch, which took my took me by surprise a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, it was.
And then they pour beer over her head. Nina comes along and sees the scene play out and has flashbacks to the night of Seb's attack, and she's having a panic, and then she manages to get her courage together and intervenes, shouting on the youths to leave her alone. And the horrible youths disperse slowly when they hear a police siren, and homeless Kelly breaks down in tears in gratitude. And later, it's all calmed down, and Nina claims that she was only passing, but then admits she was looking for homeless Kelly after speaking with homeless Stu.
Okay, if it was so easy for Nina to find her,
What's Imran been doing?
what's wrong with Imran? But then again, let's remember, Imran got lost on the way to Leanne and Nick's flat. So
Nina thinks that they're not that different, the two of them. She tells homeless Kelly to come home. She'll help her. So Nina takes Kelly to Addie's, and she can stay as long as she speaks with Imran and Toya, says Addie. And Kelly agrees to do that. Asha comes downstairs and throws some daggers at Kelly, but Kelly's still stinking of beer and has other things to worry about.
right, yeah,
Asha, of course, is more concerned about Nina's thoughts in the matter, but Nina says it's the right thing to do and it's what Roy would have done.
that's true.
She and Asha arrange to meet at Nina's Rolls later. And as she's waiting in the dark in the closed cafe, Nina has a little bit of a panic attack, worried about Asha, who promptly arrives, wondering where the fire was because she's had like 8 messages or 8 missed calls from her. Mm-hmm. Nina pretends that everything is okay, and the two of them head upstairs to watch a video, and that's how we end this week's episodes.
And winch the face off one another.
One would imagine, but what's up with Nina?
She has PTSD.
Right.
Yeah,
Is that it?
yeah.
Next.
I hate all the, camera tricks and sound effects.
I think sometimes it works better than others.
It does not work here.
It didn't. It wasn't great.
It's kind of annoying.
And
it feels like something that they fall back on way too often.
And thrown in that really in the last scene of the episode.
Right.
In the week, making it seem kind of
Yeah.
last minute sort of thing. I don't know. It was weird. PTSD, you reckon?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she's reminded of her own attack when she sees these guys attacking Nina. And
But then she was worried about Asha as well, though. Like Asha had got lost on the way across the street.
see, I didn't read it that way. I read it as she desperately wanted Asha to be there because she doesn't want to be alone.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it almost got really, really dark there if Nina hadn't shown up. It kind of seemed like they were insinuating that Kelly was going to get assaulted with the way that one guy is like, get down on your knees and beg for it
Yeah, I was wondering,
in broad daylight.
getting a young girl down on her knees
Yeah.
in front of a man is kind of,
Ugh.
it kind of resembles
Right.
or suggests something else, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I'm glad that didn't happen. I'm glad it's kind of like that other creepy guy getting kneed in the newts.
But the Friday Kelly stuff was just so depressing.
Yeah.
And we were, I think, already thinking after she got out of prison, like, how long is this going to go on for that she's getting not a
Right.
single break? And there was part of it was her own stubbornness and communication problems and stuff like that. But that was all kind of one thing. But what happened on Friday was just getting... Oh, as soon as she called that drug deal, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, I don't know if I can watch any more of this.
Yeah.
This is already getting...
Yeah.
This isn't entertainment anymore.
It's especially, it's torture porn.
Right.
Yeah. And, especially since she was so good at saying, yeah, I'm not interested either in shagging you or taking your free drugs. Because remember, that drug dealer first says, come on, love, you want to get warm?
Right.
So that's like 3 potential sexual assaults on Kelly in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've less of that, please.
Yeah.
And I wanted to kind of shake Billy there too, because Imran's like, well, has Kelly called Summer? And Billy's like, oh, well, I don't think so. But then again, they're not really friends anymore. And it's like, well, why not? Mm-hmm. Summer was the one who forgave Kelly first and was trying to take care of her because, that's what old Summer would do.
Right.
And not be so focused on her own needs.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
under
really
peer pressure
frustrating.
of her friends as well. She was far more willing to stand up against
Right.
what her friends were doing to do something that she deemed to be right.
Right. Yeah.
But now she fancies Daniel though.
Right. And she wants to get into Oxford.
So she can't do 3 things at once.
No.
She can barely do 2 things at once.
Yeah. So it's just.
And Billy says that he thought he saw her. He couldn't be sure because she had a hoodie.
Right.
So Kelly has a hoodie, so it could have been her, and,
Right.
and most likely
and
was.
the fact that she was walking towards, and then when she saw him, she started walking away. That would make you suspicious that person knows you somehow.
And she was with homeless Stu. So there you
Right.
go, Billy. There's 2 people you can be looking for or asking after. You can be asking
Right.
after Kelly, and you can also be asking after Stu, who was somebody who you know well enough to know his name.
Right.
Because if it wasn't for you, nobody would know his name.
Actually, no, that's not true. He didn't remember Stu's name. It was the other homeless guy that Sean knew.
No, outside Roy's Rolls, Billy came out and Ash and Nina were asking after him, and oh yeah, that's Stu. Yeah, Stu comes to the soup kitchen all the time. Billy knew his name.
Yeah, Billy's useless.
We will see this on the November Empty Cup Awards.
Oh, that's right. Because there weren't. I thought we used that in October.
No,
I thought that was October.
that was another Billy one,
Oh, okay. Billy.
I think. I might have been October.
Because yeah. So it's just so many of these storylines hinge on one person refusing to talk to another when they really should be talking to that person.
Oh, I would say upwards of 80%.
And that's just too much. 1 or 2 storylines, fine. It's a soap opera. But for all of them to hinge on that, or almost all of them to hinge on that, it gets kind of dull after a while.
I mean, I think the only one really that passes is Roy, because people are speaking to Roy about it, but he's just choosing not to listen.
Right.
And then we've got the Nick and Sam stuff where somebody really needs to have a word with Nick, and
Yes.
Faye probably needs to speak to Craig and
Dump him.
tell me fuck off.
Right.
Yeah, there's Maria and I don't
Maria
think,
and Sally are talking to one another at least.
but I don't think Maria's saying exactly what she thinks or exactly what she means. She's allowing herself to be steamrolled by
Manipulated.
Sally, which she wasn't doing a couple
Right.
of weeks ago, which is a little bit weird.
Anyway.
Zeedan is refusing to speak to his family about
Right.
the mess that he's found
And
himself
Aggie
in.
and Ed are refusing to tell Michael about Grace's blackmail.
Right. Yeah, there are plenty of examples. If I'm glad at anything, I'm glad that Kelly's with the Alahans, and that this whole thing seems to be sorted now
Yeah.
quicker than it was with the Sean thing. Because if we were looking at Sean levels of this
Yeah.
for another couple of weeks,
No, it
it's
wouldn't have been good.
It would have been skipping through this storyline.
Right. She would have eventually gotten sexually assaulted, and I
Because
would
it was-
refuse to watch the show again.
We couldn't have watched those.
No.
This storyline any more than we did. It
No.
was tough enough going.
Yeah.
There's not an awful lot of people who don't think that she's worth the effort, or that the character isn't worthy of saving and really hasn't really earned her place in the street. And I don't think
that's
I don't agree
true.
with that at all. I think
no.
she's an interesting character.
And I think she's a good wee actress.
Oh, absolutely. But she needs to be happy every now and again.
Yeah. Well, remember, for a long time they refused to allow Emma to be happy, and they refused to allow Asha to be happy. And both of them are technically happy at the moment. So they had to have one woman who's really sad and being abused on the street.
Yep.
And it's Kelly's turn, I guess.
Thank goodness.
Because Yasmin's already had her turn. And like I said, Asha's had her turn. Emma's had her turn. So it was just Kelly's turn.
I think Nina's had her turn as well.
Nina has had her turn, yes. Yeah. The show is not the show without some woman being assaulted. Or
And that's why
manipulated. Or abused.
And that's why we love it. So that was the week that was Coronation Street.
Yeah.
I mean, I got through that much quicker than I thought we would, because my notes on Friday were so slimmed down. And there's usually like upwards of 38, 40 scenes in an episode, and I think I wrote 29 down, which was just, I just can't bring myself to summarise this. Just it's ruining my Friday. Anyway, what was your moment of the week?
George and Sam looking at the
Oh, is it
ladies.
Sam again?
It is Sam again. It wasn't Sam last week. Last week it was Debbie. And we don't give it to the Undertaker very often.
We don't. That's true.
You know, and George's little speech there about, you know, all the things Sam is going to see in his life and just the way he is interacting with the wee boys. Just so delightful.
It's more the Undertaker's moment of the week than it is Sam's moment of the week.
Correct. Yeah. You know, and as much as I'm happy that he and Eileen are finally a couple, the Undertaker and Eileen stuff is never going to be my moment of the week. You know, it's the Undertaker being a grandpa to Sam and a father to Todd that really work really well personally for me.
Yep.
You know, it allows Tony Maudsley to really just blossom as the new father figure of the street now that Roy's gone.
Right. Yeah. I think we really have to go with that. There was, I'm not taking anything away from it, but there really was precious little else. That is our moment.
Moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
I forgot I had a button for that. Your important moment of the week.
You've got a button for everything, my darling.
That is the rumour.
Daniel getting offended that he's been cropped out of a picture.
Is it? I thought that's maybe homeless stew and all these words of wisdom that were starting to really get on my nerves on Friday.
Or is it Daniel trying to get Max to apologize to Summer?
I think if I may, I'd like to give it to homeless stew.
I didn't find that boring.
I think it's the last that we're probably going to see of him.
No, that better not be the last we see of homeless Stu. He's great.
I think he's going the way of homeless Carol.
No, he better not, because he's got a cough, let's remember, that we haven't addressed yet.
Yeah, so he's going to die.
And he's going to die.
Mean death.
He's going to die on the steps of Nina's Rolls.
Oh, on Christmas.
On Christmas.
Oh, bloody hell.
Trying to sell matches.
That is going to happen.
And everybody's going to try to save homeless Stu. I love homeless Stu.
So do I. I just wish they didn't have a
cough.
Well.
Hey. Ken survived his cough. Let's remember. Ken had a cough and he survived. I'd much rather Stu survive.
Fair enough. I don't care anymore. It's Daniel then for whatever it was you said. That's our...
For a moment of
Daniel being offended because he's been cropped out of a photo.
There we go. Shall we wrap this one up then?
Yes, please.
If you've ever
been cropped out of a photo.
Out of a photo. I mean, it just writes itself. We're the talk of the street at gmail.com and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. You can shout me and Helen a coffee by heading to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street. Check out the clicky section of voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode.
Thank you.
We will be back next week with more
Talk of the Street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.